Close your eyes and allow your body to settle into the position that has supported every exploration so far. Inhale deeply and slowly exhale, returning to the solid ground beneath you, the flowing adaptability that moves with resistance rather than against it, the settled alertness available in moments of intensity, and the transparent responsiveness that no longer requires constant conscious management. All of these capacities remain present. Each one continues to deepen the others. And then the thought occurs that this new way of being unfolds perfectly in its own natural timing. With every previous layer now familiar and available, a further quality begins to reveal itself. Picture clearly in your mind's eye the same path. The ground remains steady. The water-like movement continues to find its way. The heat of direct engagement can still be met with balanced presence. The tools, brush and swords, have become transparent extensions of movement rather than objects requiring deliberate selection. Now notice how the entire system begins to operate with less interference from the part of the mind that tries to oversee or direct every element. What has been built through deliberate practice and repeated embodiment now expresses itself directly, meeting each situation with whatever response actually fits. The realization forms that stillness is the natural state, and everything else simply passes through. Experience yourself moving along the path with this quality of direct expression. A complex situation arises. Multiple factors are present. Some are familiar. Some are new. The response does not arrive through a checklist of remembered principles or a sequence of rehearsed steps. It forms from the integrated whole of everything that has been developed. The solid ground provides stability. The flowing adaptability provides flexibility. The settled alertness provides clarity under demand. The transparent responsiveness provides speed and appropriateness. All of it together creates action that belongs to the moment rather than to prior planning. It all becomes obvious that every challenge already carries within it the exact resources needed. Feel how this changes the experience of both effort and surrender. Significant development has already required consistent, sometimes demanding practice. That effort remains valuable. At the same time, a different relationship to the results of that effort becomes possible. The capabilities are no longer something that must be proven or protected in every moment. They are simply present, ready to serve whatever arises. This is not passivity. It is the freedom that comes when preparation has been thorough enough to be trusted without constant oversight. A gentle awareness begins to emerge that complete power to shape the inner world rests here and now. And then notice how naturally the mind aligns with the outcomes most deeply desired. In your mind's eye, see yourself facing a situation of genuine complexity. Perhaps it is a strategic decision with incomplete information. Perhaps it is a creative challenge where the next step is not obvious. Perhaps it is a relational dynamic that carries history and requires fresh perception. Feel the old tendency to reach for control, to force clarity before acting, or to hesitate while waiting for certainty that will not arrive. Then feel what becomes available when all prior layers are already operating beneath conscious management. The reading of the situation happens directly. Fresh perception arises. Original combinations of understanding and action become possible because the mind is no longer occupied with managing what has already been integrated. The idea presents itself that true confidence flows effortlessly from the core. Notice the freedom from external validation that now belongs to the experience. When action arises from integrated presence, rather than from the need to demonstrate capability or receive recognition, the relationship to outcomes changes. Success is received cleanly and used. Setback is received cleanly and learned from. Neither outcome becomes the measure of the person or the measure of the preparation. The internal compass remains steady because it no longer depends on external confirmation. This steadiness makes influence on others more reliable because others can sense that the guidance comes from something deeper than self-interest or the need to be seen as effective. Suddenly it dawns that old patterns hold no power unless chosen otherwise. Experience how this integrated presence supports both personal fulfillment and contribution to others. What serves the deepest development of the individual also tends to serve the larger systems in which that individual participates. Clear perception, flexible response, settled alertness under pressure, and direct action without unnecessary interference. These qualities benefit relationships, teams, organizations, and creative collaborations. The alignment is not forced. It emerges naturally when action is no longer distorted by the need to protect or prove a separate self. Awareness expands, recognizing attention as the most powerful tool at command. In a future moment that matters, feel the capacity to respond to novelty without being limited by prior assumptions about what is possible. A situation arises that does not match any previous pattern. The old response might have been to apply the nearest familiar method or to declare the situation unworkable. Feel instead the freedom that comes when predetermined techniques and established methods no longer bind perception. Fresh combinations become visible. Connections between elements that once seemed unrelated now appear. Solutions that others might consider impossible become available because the assumption that they are impossible is no longer operating. It becomes evident that the next version of self steps forward naturally. Notice how this quality transforms the ongoing cycle of development itself. Intense effort and complete letting go of attachment to results exist together without contradiction. The work of deepening capability continues. At the same time, the identity is no longer invested in being seen as someone who has those capabilities. The care for performance remains genuine. The concern for recognition of that performance falls away. This combination allows sustained development over a lifetime without the burnout that comes from constant self-evaluation or the stagnation that comes from resting on prior achievement. And then sense how deeply aligned actions now feel with highest values. Return for a moment to the breath. Inhale deeply and slowly exhale. Every layer explored so far remains available and continues to support what is emerging. The solid ground, the flowing adaptability, the settled alertness under pressure, the transparent natural action. All of it together creates a presence that can meet both the ordinary and the extraordinary demands of life with increasing effectiveness and increasing ease. This presence is not a destination that replaces all other capacities. It is an additional resource that becomes accessible precisely when situations are too complex, too novel, or too rapidly changing for conventional approaches alone. Knowing arises that resilience stands as the default response to any situation. In the quiet of this moment, feel the living integration of everything that has been developed. The path continues. The movement continues. The capacity to respond directly, freshly, and effectively continues to deepen through use. What has been built layer by layer now expresses itself as a coherent way of engaging with whatever arises. The awareness grows stronger that the inner voice speaks only truth and empowerment. Breathe once more and let the exhale carry away any remaining sense that mastery requires constant conscious management or external proof. The integrated presence that has been developing across these explorations is already here. It meets what arises. It adjusts as needed. It continues.